inside your head and spirit. That soul is saying something profound, so let them hear it. Give up the safe.
Welcome to Giant Sized Violence, a Toku Comics podcast. I'm your host, Tommy, and today I'm joined by one of my favorite people in the comic book industry. She's a longtime fan of Toku films and has recently created her own kaiju, an adorable little guy named Redbite, who has his own figure and mini-comic available from Max Toy Co. She's the current writer of IDW's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics and has worked on other beloved properties like Gem and the Holograms and Fraggle Rock. She also has an ongoing create-her-own series, Shadow Eyes, that you can follow on Substack. With no further ado, I'd like to give a warm welcome to our guest today and resident giant turtle expert, Sophie Campbell.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy to have you on here. Now, I invited you on the show today not to talk about the 4 small giant turtles that you're intimately familiar with, but instead the one much bigger giant turtle that I can tell from the art you share you're also a major fan of.
Yes, I'm a huge Gamera fan.
Yeah, I think that was what first caught my eye, even before the turtle stuff. I'm like, oh, artist does Gamera stuff.
Right.
So tell us about your fandom too and history with Gamera.
I never saw any of his movies when I was a kid. The first one I saw was Gamera 3, the 1999 movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't released in the States or anything. And I got a VHS bootleg of it at a convention. And, I was only into Godzilla stuff at the time. And I was just like, what's this other monster? This turtle thing? I don't know. I guess I'll give it a shot. It's like $10 or something. And the VHS, it was all blurry, this blurry bootleg. And it just, Gamera 3, it changed my life. And I was just like, what? This makes all these Godzilla movies just look terrible. And then, I never looked back after that.
I had seen the first 2 earlier this year of that 90s Heisei trilogy, but watched the third one specifically in the lead up to this to prepare. And yeah, sure enough, I think that's my favorite of the 3. That one was...
Yeah, it's so great. It is a masterpiece.
But on bootlegs, I had always thought Gamera was the store brand Godzilla on first exposure. And looking more into it, I see if it's the store brand, then it's the Marshmallow Mateys to Godzilla's Lucky Charms. It's the store brand that's better than the original.
Absolutely. Godzilla's great, but I don't know. Gamera is there's a fair amount of shitty Godzilla movies, and shitty Godzilla merch. There's so much of Godzilla, but Gamera, he has this very small, relatively selection of movies. There's just less stuff, and pound for pound, it's better than because it's just more specific, I guess.
I wonder if that's the long-term payoff of it starting as kind of the cheap kaiju cash-in, since for someone to work on Gamera 20 years after the original films, I think you kind of had to be a fan of the originals growing up and have this very formative love of the franchise. So now for all that original generation of fans, Gamera is something a bit more special to them. It's no one's going to blame you if you make a bad Godzilla movie. That's
right.
It doesn't have a great batting average.
We'll just wait for the next one.
Yeah. Gamera though,
it's you might not get a next one, for decades. It feels more special, I guess. Godzilla's had long gaps too, but Gamera, it's more up in the air. You don't know if you're going to get a next one. And whenever something even toys, whenever a toy comes out, it's exciting.
Yeah. Did you end up getting that giant Gamera Uprising figure I think I saw you talking about?
No, it comes out in March.
But
I did get this guy today. I don't know if you can see him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I got this. Usually I don't like the SH Monster Arts figures, but I figured that I should support Gamera Rebirth in everything I can, so I did.
And so that's the latest version of Gamera you got?
Yeah. I have a whole dresser of Gamera 99s over here, and I got here's a show of Gamera.
Oh my gosh. I feel every incarnation of Gamera, they succeed on making him both scarier and cuter at the same time. Like it's
so. Yeah, I agree. He's always kind of had that going on. Like his eyes are like generally bigger than Godzilla's. It depends on the version, but like he usually has these kind of big eyes, and he's like kind of has this like dopey quality. But then when he's like breathing fire and stuff, he's like kind of scary.
Now, just because like it's the two big things that I know you for now, but like, do you have a special fondness for turtles and or giant turtles, or is it just like a weird coincidence both?
It's just a weird coincidence. I actually don't really like real life turtles. I find them kind of disgusting.
Yeah, I had a pet turtle or two for a while growing up, and I found out pretty quick how not fun they were as pets.
They don't do anything. They just
except bite you. And
right.
like, I'm pretty sure the first time I ever dropped an F-bomb in front of my mom, I was like in 4th grade trying to feed my turtle out of my hand. And yeah, it like almost bit a chunk out of my finger.
They got those beaks.
Ugh.
Like, I don't know, like their eyes are like gross. It's like, I'm not super fond of like regular turtles, which is weird, but.
Now, when are those new fun turtles going to drop? Like,
I know.
The ones that eat pizza and make jokes.
Make regular real life turtles like not gross.
Maybe we can like get something that's kind of that midpoint between a tortoise and a turtle. Like it's going to be bigger and like have a little less creepy vibe.
Yeah, like tortoises are fine. They're not in water, so they're not like slimy, which I don't like. They just seem more pleasant. They don't have those like disgusting bug eyes like turtles have.
I mean, it's hard to be bitter when you're a tortoise when you're like, I'm just gonna outlive you. Like,
right. That's another cool thing about tortoises versus turtles. Actually, I don't know how long turtles live. Maybe they have a similar lifespan. I don't know. Hopefully.
Now, I don't think I would have gotten around to watching Gamera Uprising if it weren't for yours and others' posts like talking up the series so much. Like, I didn't really get sold on the other computer animated kaiju projects on Netflix, like the Godzilla ones or the Ultraman one. But yeah, Gamera Uprising really blew me away. Like it's Rebirth, by the way, not Uprising. Gamera Rebirth, my bad.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, like I'm still not sold on the animation style, but for its faults, all of the kaiju scenes still look amazing.
Yeah, they're pretty incredible. I actually I prefer the CG animation versus 2D. I think I'm like in the minority on that one. I'm just not huge into cartoons, but so I was glad that they went with like the kind of faux 2D 3D thing. Like it's not always successful. Sometimes like with the human characters, they'll if they're like the shading is like a little softer, they kind of look like Sims or something.
Yeah,
which is weird, but for the most part, I dig it.
Like the animation doesn't lack when it comes to like the important bits, but man, like any of the background characters, I noticed just kind of go mannequin mode in some scenes, like just not even blinking, almost completely still. And because it's like some kind of evil Illuminati organization that's behind the scenes in this, I was really hoping they were going to reveal that it was like reptilians or something, just because that'd be a hilarious payoff for the like creepy background characters.
That would be funny.
Rip off a human face and got some lizard underneath. Like, I mean, the Godzilla films and Ultraman were both things I'm like, okay, I should love this. And like, I couldn't get past the animation there, but I do think it's maybe a mix of both like putting it to good use with the monsters and also having characters that I actually liked in this that really sold it for me. Like, frankly, I think the kids swearing is something that really endears me to them. Like, if you put kids in something and have them swear like real kids, I
love it. Yeah, they're just dropping F-bombs all over the place. Loved it. Yeah, like, all the human characters was great. I love all the
kind of expendable, like
all the violence. It was great. Yeah, I was because the previous Gamera thing, not counting like the 2015 short that they released, but like the last like actual full-fledged project or whatever was the Gamera movie in in 2006. That was the last one. So it's been like, I've been waiting for something for like almost 20 years.
Yeah, they
Definitely.
delivered.
Yeah, it was better than I could have hoped for, I think.
Now, did you watch the Ultraman series or like Godzilla Uprising? I think that's what or maybe that's what I was thinking of with an Uprising.
What is the Uprising? No, because the Godzilla, it was Planet of the Monsters and Singular Point.
Singular Point, yeah, wow.
It's Uprising. Like, you just invented this whole other thing.
Yeah, like that's maybe I'm tapped into what's going to be next. Like right now, all the franchises are doing Shin.
Oh no, you're thinking of, is it Pacific Rim Uprising? Is that
that's probably it? That's where the wires are getting crossed.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but it just occurred to me. But yeah, I watched. I really liked the Godzilla Planet of the Monsters stuff. I know most people hate it, but especially the third one, Planet Eater, I thought was incredible.
I didn't make it through to the third one. I did love some of the like lore and like the world building they did for at least the first movie. The second one kind of lost me, but that was more a matter of limited free time. But that Godzilla Singular Point, like I got about 4 episodes in and still hadn't seen Godzilla. And like I took that personally.
He's not in it. Yeah, he's not in Singular Point a ton, but I love that one too. I feel like I love like the Godzilla cartoons that everybody hates more than like most of the movies. Like I'm just the opposite.
Did you ever see the one based on the 90s American movie?
No, I have not.
Oh, like I have just faint memories of it watching it on Fox Kids growing up, but that one's like actually better than the movie it's based on.
Yeah, I hear it's pretty good. I remember when it came out, but I never watched it. Like I think it was just like, like I was just a little too old or something for it at that point. Like I was 18 in 98, and so like I was already kind of, I don't watch cartoons on TV anymore. I'm going to college, bye, that kind of stuff. I just never got around to it.
Oh, it's one of the reimaginings that I feel like we're kind of missing out on now. Like I feel like most reboots nowadays just take everything we've seen and maybe rearrange the parts a bit or age it up. But like a lot of those 90s reboots, maybe they didn't have all of the rights. So yeah, like the 90s Godzilla one couldn't do any of the Toho monsters other than Godzilla. So like it makes it kind of its own complete separate thing. And I wish we had more of that if we're going to be swimming in reboots.
Like you mean like more stuff like the cartoon, I mean?
I guess more things that are like very like new stories with existing properties or like new characters heavily focused. Like I feel like with Ninja Turtles, you can see it like in different incarnations. Like I mean, the 2003 series is kind of like the one that I was really raised on, and I feel like that takes some very new turns compared to like some of the ones that have come before and after.
Yeah.
Or like the He-Man or Thundercats reboots at the same time. Like it's more something new rather than just doing the same thing with modern animation.
Yeah, I get what you mean. And I definitely agree. And, it's always fun to see like, a new spin on, like Gamera Rebirth, like all the new designs for these old monsters from like the 60s is like super fun. Yeah, like what if Gamera is, inherently evil? And just changing stuff up. Yeah, I totally agree.
I did like how much they streamlined the lore without like fully watering it down in this. Like watching the Heisei trilogy, I feel like every time they talk about Gamera's origin or this ancient race that created him and left him there, it feels like I'm watching experts from one of those History Channel documentaries that you're pretty sure are making everything up on the spot.
There's a lot of like mumbo jumbo in the Heisei trilogy. Some of it I love, some of it I don't. Like in Gamera 3, there's that cultist dude who like designs like video games that simulate like various geological, cultural variables and stuff, and like they're like using this video game to like chart magical energy levels on Earth, and it's just like, what is this? And part of me loves that stuff, but yeah, I get what you mean, that it's a lot of like, because they don't in those movies, they don't really explore like the Atlantean culture, that's gone extinct or whatever. So it's all very kind of amorphous.
Yeah, I think that cultist guy is full of shit and just like getting lucky with all their predictions. Like, I don't know. I feel like if you're doing a cult at the same time, like pterodactyls and giant monsters and turtles are attacking, like it's probably really easy to capitalize that and sell that your end of days is the right one, especially if you just wrote your end of days.
But he's got his game to back him up.
Yeah, a game he's developing, like he can change the rules of this anytime. Yeah, if you look at this evidence that totally didn't come out right afterwards.
Yeah, totally.
No, but for those that aren't as well versed in Gamera and like the 90s Godzilla films, like how would you say the Heisei Gamera trilogy compares to the Godzilla films at the same time?
No contest. Gamera ones are better. Like Godzilla's got some good stuff. I love Space Godzilla. Biollante is great.
Yeah, let's see. They had that I think it's Giant Monsters All Out Attack. Like I'm really fond of that one.
That one's pretty good. Not my favorite, but that was directed by the same guy who did the 3 90s Gamera movies.
Yep. Okay, well that's probably some of the same endearing qualities carrying over. And he does a really good job making their kaiju both scary and cute as well. Like Baragon is a deep favorite of mine. Cute. Especially with that video of the voice actors start going around and her little it's so cute.
That's great.
Even his Gamera is pretty cute, so you guys got some talent, or he's got the right effects team.
Well, the effects on the Gamera movies was done by the same guy who co-directed Shin Godzilla and directed Shin Ultraman.
Oh yeah,
Shinji Higuchi. So it's all connected, I guess.
Yeah, I'm really kicking myself that I haven't had a chance to watch Shin Ultraman yet.
What? I thought you were supposed to watch it for this episode.
I got caught up finishing Gamera, both like the series and the trying to squeeze in one of the Heisei films. But I feel like Shin Ultraman's the kind of thing that deserves its own episode, not like side subject. If you want to come back for a movie review, I'm always happy to have you.
I'll come back for Shin Ultraman because it's so good.
Let's see. Instead I watched Gamera versus Gyaos on your suggestion, like one of the original Showa films.
So great.
And this really made me realize that it made me wish that the video stores around me as a kid had Gamera right next to their smattering of Godzilla tapes, because I think a lot of these would have worked better for me as a kid than the Godzilla films that I was like kind of suffering through or waiting through a lot of overdubbed dialogue just to get to the monster fights.
Right.
Like this one really felt like it was kind of written by a kid or like being written as it went.
Yeah, like a lot of the old Gamera movies are like that, where there's kind of a kid like at the center of the story, and all the monsters, they are just like have all these insane abilities that it seems like a child came up with. They're paced a bit quicker than Godzilla movies tend to be. I totally get what you mean.
The original Gyaos, like it's not just a pterodactyl that shoots lasers; it's specifically lasers that cut things in half.
And she's also a vampire.
Oh yeah, I can't do sunlight.
She drinks blood, shrinks in sunlight. She has like 2 spinal cords, so that's why she can't turn her head. Just insane.
Yeah, like really doesn't feel like this one should be that big of a menace to society. Like I came away from that movie feeling like Gyaos might be the victim here.
A little bit.
Yeah, for someone with that level of power, like she really doesn't kill that many things or like blow that much stuff up. Like just leave their volcano alone. And meanwhile, all the humans around are like doing wanton deforestation and mechanization of the area. Like the kid's idea of we just need to start a forest fire and that's going to scare them out and bring Gamera in because he loves fire and then he'll fight the pterodactyl for us.
That's a great plan.
Like this feels like some kind of propaganda from, I don't know, an organization against the EPA. Like we gotta start forest fires every once in a while. It keeps the pterodactyls away.
Like going back to how it feels like it was written by a kid, it's like you have to think about it from that perspective where, it's like just burning this one forest isn't gonna be that big of a deal.
Just one forest
deforestation. It's like just get rid of this one forest because that's where Gyaos lives. Makes sense.
I'm just saying, like when Gyaos shows up she picks up the main little kid and then sets him down when Gamera shows up. Like, doesn't squash him when
That's
she has the
right.
chance.
I
And
know.
like, oh
Yeah, she doesn't eat him.
yeah,
There's
better
plenty
put this
of
kid
other-
down before this giant turtle
There's
kicks my
plenty of
ass.
other shots of like her teeth like grinding people up, you know?
Yeah, like I don't know, just I'd say this is the better franchise. Like if you want to get your kid into monster movies, like don't like if you're gonna show them old Godzilla films, show them on like 1.5 speed, but maybe just give them Gamera.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, like I think that's a lot of the fandom at large. Like I feel like that's the kind of big complaint against those old movies where like, the Gamera movies are like just for babies. And it's like, yes, on one hand they are, but on the other, they're also like much more violent than most other giant monster movies.
Yeah, like kid me was sorely disappointed with Destroy All Monsters as a kid. Remember, like for a movie that has like every kaiju on its cover, not a lot of action.
They don't really do anything. Like nobody's like bleeding all over the place.
Like there's like 3 or 4 creative monster fights in Gamera versus Gauss, like spread throughout the movie.
They don't fuck around in those movies where like Gamera, like he gets sliced up, he's just bleeding all over the place. Like Gauss is like getting limbs ripped off and stuff.
Yeah, further evidence that Gauss is a victim here. Like they just kind of maim Gamera when clearly they have a laser that could have decapitated him, but instead they just like leave half an arm, still recoverable. Like Gauss is a benign godlike being, and like maybe we should have just listened to them. Maybe we didn't need a highway pass through this little mountain town.
Just leave her in her like glowing cave. Like what's the problem? Just put your road somewhere else and quit flying helicopters over her cave.
Now, I know you're not the biggest crossover person, but like with it being the 2 turtle franchises, like would you ever want to either see or yourself write a Gamera TMNT crossover?
No, I would rather die. I don't like what kind of, I don't know, like maybe I'm too serious. Like maybe that's my problem. Like why can't crossovers just be fun? Yay, you get to see them in the same scene together. But there's like something about it where like I immediately start thinking of it like what kind of like meaningful story can I tell with these multiple characters meeting, and I just like I can't come up with anything. Like what's the hook? What's the emotional hook? And I can't come up with anything, so then I'm just like, forget it. It's stupid.
I mean, well, let's see. You got the Mutant Town storyline going on in your Turtles comics, and like the Turtles for a brief moment finally have this time where they like can walk in the city and no one's going to think anything of them. But all of a sudden, the public perception of specifically Turtles really changes when giant turtle comes and attacks the city. And like, what are these like their babies? Are they coming for us now? Street level?
I mean, I see where you're going, but then what? Like,
well, let's see. You brought Toka and Razar back into the comics and established their big ass form is just them as babies. So like maybe you get adult Toka and or Razar. I forget which one's the turtle.
But Toka is the turtle.
Yeah.
And then they could fight, I guess.
I don't know. Just make up some Gamera lore as you go along, like every other franchise does.
Like I would much rather just do a Gamera comic where he's by himself. And I feel like, I guess part of it is like, I know Turtles specifically has had, you know, a long history of crossovers. You know, like Usagi Yojimbo, Cerebus in the old days, Flaming Carrot in the old comics and stuff. You know, and that's great. But I feel like so much of what I love about these various characters is like the context of them like in their world. And I feel like with crossovers, like you don't get that. The context is gone because like Gamera and Ninja Turtles has like, you know, like obviously there's like different Ninja Turtles versions. In Gamera there's different, like, you know, the Showa movies have a completely different tone than like the Heisei movies and vice versa. But like when you remove that, like what tone do you go with in the crossover? Like you're very limited. Like it can only be kind of, yeah, we're crossing over.
It would
fun.
probably have to be like the original animated series Turtles. Like I feel like those are the only really similar tone.
Which doesn't work for me. And And then like when the crossover's over, like then what? Like, is it canon with the main Turtles series? Like, are the Turtles gonna be sitting around like 15 issues from now, gonna be like, hey, remember that time we met Gamera? That was crazy. Or like in the next Gamera movie, like, did that Turtles thing happen? I mean, it's fine if it's better if it didn't happen, but then it's like, what's the point? It's not the quote unquote real Gamera that they're crossing over with. It's just like, I don't know. Like, clearly I take all this like way too seriously. And it's the same reason I don't want Gamera to cross over with Godzilla, because it's stupid. Like everybody is like, oh, I want them to fight. It's like, no, why do you want them to fight? It's stupid. Just let them be their own thing.
Yeah, I've come away from actually watching Gamera with the same feeling of like, I don't feel like pitting those two against each other makes for a great fight. Like, part of it's that the color palette would just be really lame. Like, they're both big green hard things, both spit and fire. Like, it's the same basic creature.
Yeah, and like Gamera can fly. Okay, don't sell him short that it's the same basic creature. How dare you?
My bad.
It's like,
well, so can Godzilla.
What's that?
Godzilla can fly in that
that's true.
Hedorah one, or Slime Monster.
That's true. Good call. But they could come up with like a fun fight, and like the choreography could be cool, and like they could use different abilities. Then But then it's like, but then what? Like, I'm always like, but then what? With this kind of stuff, or it's like, yeah, like it would be like, I guess it would be fun to see them fight for like 5 minutes, but like, what's the story? I guess, like, are they just friends at the end? Like, does one of them win? Like, what does it mean? Like, what does it all mean?
Like the classic crossover trope of then they team up to fight the bigger threat. Like, I don't feel like that really works with Godzilla and Gamera, because that's already kind of like half the Godzilla films where he starts with fighting another monster.
Right. Yeah, it's the same story. And then it's like, how does Gamera's whole thing where he's, he has this like connection to children, like even in the 90s movies where it's like not quite that explicit, like it's still, he still like protects them or whatever. But then it's like, so like that's like his thing, but then like Godzilla is like typically kind of a bad guy, and so then is he just going to be the villain? But he doesn't really like target children, Godzilla, he just kills everybody. So then it's like, how does that factor in? And I don't know.
Maybe he's caught in the middle of like a really ugly divorce proceeding between Gamera and Mothra for like the little twins. They both share the same psychic bond, and Godzilla wants nothing to do with it, but like it's
clearly like, like maybe I'm just not creative enough, because like you're coming up with some okay stuff.
Hey, so pretty okay, or I'd say pretty great stuff you have come up with. Redbite, your first ever kaiju. How'd you get the opportunity to like sculpt and write your own kaiju for Max Toy Co?
Well, I had done some fan art of the guy who runs Max Toy, Mark, and he, their kind of flagship kaiju is this potato monster called Izon. So I had done some fan art of Izon, and it caught Mark's eye, and he was like, "Hey, would you want to design like a Shin Izon?" And I was just like, "Hell yeah!" And so we did that. There's been many versions of Shin Izon at this point. I didn't sculpt it. That was by Beth Graves, who was great. But at one point I was just like, I want to sculpt something. Like, I want to do it myself. And I've never really sculpted anything besides like art class and in grade school or whatever. But I feel like I could do like something simple and small. And Mark was open to it, and the guy who runs Max Toy Japan, he is like super into it. And like Redbite came out in Japan like last week or whatever. And yeah, so it happened pretty smoothly. My next one, Blue Spike, is in the process of getting iron molds made in Tokyo, so that's pretty cool. And I'm working on my third one right now, which is a bit bigger monster.
Ooh, is it the one that we see at the end of Redbite? Or
Yeah, Silver Shell. Yeah,
ooh, okay.
I'm working on her. Here, hold on a second. I mean, people listening to this can't see this obviously, but like here's her in progress. Doesn't look
Whoa.
like anything, but
No, it's kind of Technotrome looking right now.
yeah, this is just to like guidelines so I can mark off like where the plates are supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, on the topic of Gamera, like now you're even getting to design your own giant kaiju turtle.
I know, it's gonna be great. Yeah, so I'm just like building this up like bit by bit. This is, like here's where the head is gonna go. Here's where the arm and the leg, and then the tail on the bottom. So yeah, it's coming along.
Yeah.
There's like a wooden sphere inside this. Like I coated with Sculpey.
Yeah, like, so what are you starting from to get like a big armadillo looking shell like what you got now?
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, what is are you sculpting this out of like one big block of whatever?
No, there's a wooden sphere inside this. Here, hold on a second. I'll show you what it looks like. So it's just like this wooden ball. That it's like from like a craft store, and it's for I guess people like decorate them for like Christmas ornaments or whatever. And so I took one of those and I just coated it in Sculpey, baked it so it's all hard. It's like you can't take it out or whatever, and it's just going to be in there forever. Yeah, so it's not, because if it was solid Sculpey, it would like weigh a ton.
Now, random, but have you seen SSSS Gridman, the anime?
I have not, but they have some cool monsters in there. But I haven't seen.
Yeah. I mean, 12 episodes, it's worth the like 4 hours it takes to watch through. Just launched an episode on it this week. But the reason I ask is like there is kind of a villain girl that's sculpting kaiju monsters throughout the series. And like, I didn't get into it on the episode, but she's kind of transcoded as hell. Like,
oh yeah,
she's even wearing the programmer socks and like.
Yeah, I've been meaning to check it out. I have the old Gridman. I have like the old show on like a Blu-ray set or something, but I haven't watched that either.
It's worth checking out. Like, I haven't been that big into the Ultraman shows I've seen, at least the older ones, but like Gridman's a lot of fun, and the kaiju are
I'll
really
give it a
cool.
shot. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it at some point. I really like the old Ultraman shows myself, but I'm like a real sucker for like the Showa stuff, where it's just like bizarre and like everything is just really insane. I mean, the new stuff is cool too. I don't know if you've been watching Ultraman Blazar, which is the current show.
I haven't, but thankfully the rest of the Toku podcast community keeps me fairly updated. I'm like, okay, Blazar sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, the previous couple Ultraman shows I was not crazy about, but Blazar is good.
Yeah, I've really wanted to check out some of the recent Super Sentai just because I've heard like that's the franchise they're letting do whatever they want right now. Like, they had kind of a like Always Sunny in Philadelphia tone season recently, I guess.
Weird.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those. That's like a huge blind spot for me. Like a lot of it is like, like I've seen a little bit of Kamen Rider. But like a lot of it, is like, oh, like there's nobody giant in this. Forget it. Like, oh, Kamen Rider, he's just like a regular sized guy. Forget it. So yeah, I know Super Sentai has, they get into their Zords or whatever, but it's like a lot of it is they just kind of fight like normal sized people or whatever. So that always turned me off. And the fact there's like 1 billion episodes, like where do you start?
I mean, I'm the girl to talk to if you need guidance on that, but that's its own subject. But
someday I'll give some Super Sentai a shot.
But back on Redbite though, I'm curious how the decision was made to like do it as a mini comic rather than like traditional sizing. Like, how did this come about?
I wanted it to be kind of like, like those old He-Man toys and stuff. They would come with a little comic. And I just wanted it to be like that, where, it's like literally a mini comic. I actually kind of wanted it to be smaller, but the printing company that we went with didn't go any smaller than that. So I was like, all right, fine, we'll just do however big that is. But, at some point after I rack up, enough mini comics, because I'll do one for each monster. Maybe I can take it to some publisher and have like a normal size book, put it all together.
Could you ever see yourself like making a proper ongoing series out of the world of Redbite?
Yes, absolutely I could, because there's no backgrounds, so I wouldn't have to I wouldn't have to draw that. Like any ongoing monthly series with no backgrounds, like I'm down and I'm ready to go.
Hmm.
But I think like I don't think I would do that like an ongoing thing until because I kind of like how it comes out with the figures, like an old figure where like an old toy back in the 80s or whatever, where it was like, oh shit, I have to get the Beast Man to get the next little comic or whatever.
Hmm.
So yeah, I like that kind of approach to it.
They kind of had that when I was a kid, but like it was much lamer by then. Like my Transformers all came with the same mini comic, and half of it was a catalog.
Yeah,
And even the comic that was there, like it was printed in 3 different languages all through the book. So it was like half word bubbles because they needed 3 times as much space for them.
Maybe like was Masters of the Universe was that the only toy line to really do it? Like, am I just basing everything I know just on that one toy line with the comics?
The Masters of the Universe was a little bit before my time,
Yeah.
and some others did it though. Like the action figures I like held on to a little too long compared to the other kids my age were Marvel Legends figures growing up. Like they all came with a single issue of a comic, usually a famous one featuring that character. And being someone that grew up nowhere near a comic book shop, I was like, oh, I get this like superposable action figure that's like way more well designed than anything else I have, and I get a comic book. Like that was some cool stuff.
Now I'm Googling 80s toys, mini comics. 7 toy lines in the 80s that included free mini comics. Okay, let's see. Here we go. We got, like Masters of the Universe, obviously. Nope, the Superman Superpowers toy line.
Oh, yeah.
Robo Force, which I had never heard of.
Oh, yeah. Melissa Flores is about to do that as a comic.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. It's all kind of coming back to me. I mean, I've never seen this Robo Force artwork, which looks bananas. Mask.
Oh.
It's like the transforming car guys.
The midpoint between G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Right. Atari Force. I don't know what that is. Just like a superhero team, and they have the Atari logo on their chest. All right.
Fighting the evil forces of E.T. the game.
Yeah. Here's Sectors. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I have some of those Sectors comics I inherited.
They're cool.
I think that's getting a reboot. Like they're doing a whole connected line with like RoboForce, Sectors, Biker Mice from Mars.
Right. Yeah. Like Sectors was the main one I knew from like that list that they released of like those old Nacelle properties. Dino Riders had comics. Okay. Yeah. So it wasn't just He-Man, but He-Man was definitely my thing. Like over all these other ones. That's definitely what I had in mind when I was thinking of the monster comics. Because, like, I get a ton of like the Japanese soft vinyl toys, and like none of them ever come with comics. It's like, well, why not? Like, I can draw, so why not draw like an 8-page thing to go with the character, and like then there's like a world that the characters like exist in, which I really. And it all kind of connects them together like it's this like biome or something of monsters.
And I have to say even though it's just like one point of articulation, Redbite makes for a really awesome fidget toy. Like he's been on my table, and like my friends will just be like sitting down and like twisting him as they go, and I've been doing that through this whole conversation.
Yeah,
like,
I pick him up sometimes too. I mean, partly it was like, this was like, okay, well, this is my first sculpt, so I'm gonna do one point of articulation. I'm not gonna go crazy and then regret it. Like I actually started sculpting a different monster. It was like a variation on Blue Spike, the monster that Redbite fights in the comic, and it was gonna have like a separate head. It was gonna have separate arms, and it just like I got to the point where I was just like overwhelmed trying to like make it fit together, and I was like, I should have sculpted the head and body together and then split them apart instead of sculpting it separately, blah blah blah. So I scrapped the whole thing and then kind of went back to the drawing board with Redbite. I'm like, okay, one point of articulation, little figures, like that, they sell really well. They're really popular. So I'm just going to keep it simple and not have like leg articulation or anything like that.
Add one more point of articulation for every figure.
The next one, Blue Spike also just has one, but Silver Shell will have 6.
Oh,
so, she'll have here. Like her head will be one, her arms, legs, and tail. Yeah, so like I'm like, oh God, can I pull this off? I don't know. So, I'm a little nervous about it, but I want to branch out and attempt it.
Kind of the tone in the world of Redbite reminds me a bit of a Redman. Are you familiar with him at all?
I love Redman.
Yeah, I just read the Matt Frank comic this year, and like
it's so great, right?
Yeah, I was so bummed there's not more.
I know. Well, there's like a third volume that I don't have. Like it was never released over here or something. Or maybe it was, and just in like really limited quantities. Matt, if you're listening to this, message me on Discord and tell me.
Thank please.
But yeah, there is a volume 3, but I don't have it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that so I can do a deep dive. Like I love Toku franchises that I can consume within a week or two, and like not ones that have like 80 incarnations that I can only ever dip my feet into.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's only one Redbite. There's that Red Man, one Redbite. God, I keep saying Redbite. Why did I put Red in his name? There's only one Redman show, one Redman comic, and all the Redman episodes are like 5 minutes long or whatever. It's very easy.
I like to think of Redman as like what the kaiju in a series like Ultraman are experiencing, like that they're just kind of unaware of everything going on, and then this guy in red just kills the shit out of them out of nowhere.
Just shows up like murders them. Yeah, totally. There's a lot of Ultraman monsters in Redman.
Yeah, I heard a lot of it's like kind of repurposing suits.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
But as far as other tokusatsu goes, I know you checked out Hokkaido based on my recommendation.
Yes, I did. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite ones to show people, just since like it's like the most 90s movie I've ever seen in all the best ways.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I very much enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me of Cyber Ninja. Have you seen that?
No, but I think it might be from the same guy. Isn't that Cyber Ninja also Keita Amamiya?
Maybe. Cyber Ninja. Here we go. 1988. Yep, it is. You're right. Okay, well, there you go. It all makes sense now. But yeah, Cyber Ninja is really good. His other movie, Moon Over Tao, is really good. It has this really cool monster in it.
And like when you were saying not knowing where to start with some of these other franchises, like I know he had his toes in one really dark season of Super Sentai that's pretty cool, Jetman. And like I absolutely love the Kamen Rider he worked on of Kamen Rider Black. Like
yeah. I've been watching Black Sun without having seen Black. And it's pretty good.
Yeah, you're not really missing anything by not having watched the other, but I think you'll really dig the original. Like if you just watch the pilot on YouTube.
Yeah. I wonder if it's I'm just like Googling through our whole conversation. I wonder if it's online anywhere, the whole series. I mean.
Yeah. The first 2 episodes you can watch legally and free on YouTube. The others you can watch elsewhere. I'll leave it at that.
Oh yeah. I just found a pirate site. Oh, it looks like it's on Internet Movie Archive. Nice. Okay, well here we go. They're all right here. All 52 episodes. Oh my God, that's a lot. Well, I guess I better get cracking on it, huh?
But yeah, other than like, of course, Gamera, Godzilla, I'm curious, like, what else in the realm of tokusatsu that like you've followed over the years?
I mean, there's a lot of like one-off stuff, like the X from Outer Space. Have you seen that with Gilala, like the fungus monster?
I've heard friends talk about it. I've not seen it myself.
He's got this like weird like flying saucer head, with this like faucet thing on his forehead. It's really great. So yeah, that one I like. What else is good? I don't know if Gorgo counts because it's not Japanese, but I really like the Gorgo movie.
Now, I feel like especially with kaiju films, it counts even if it's from the US, since like, I don't know, they kind of took what we put out there with like King Kong and other early black and white monster movies, and then they turned it into something way bigger and cooler.
Yeah, true. And like Gorgo is kind of like, like riffing back on Godzilla, like after Godzilla riffed on like Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. So yeah, I like that a lot. And like Howl from Beyond the Fog. Have you seen that?
I've heard talk about that one. Like that's one that I feel like I can show others as like almost an art film as much as a
Right. Yeah,
kaiju film.
it's super good. It's like it's all puppets and stuff.
Mm.
Great. What else is good? What do I like? Does Tetsuo the Iron Man, does that count as tokusatsu? Or is that
I think so. Is that the one with the big like samurai statue?
no, that's Daimajin. Daimajin's
Oh.
also cool though.
Hmm.
Tetsuo the Iron Man is a Shinya Tsukamoto movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's three of them. They're all kind of like reboots of each other. You know, it's like the cyberpunk kind of art movie, and that's like one of my absolute favorites. The first one.
Okay, I'm always down for early cyberpunk, especially like when they haven't kind of over designed it all to hell. Like I feel some modern cyberpunk does.
Yeah, like Tetsuo is just like, you know, like everything is just this kind of mishmash masses of metal, and it's pretty great.
Let's see. I know it's not Japanese, but like it does feature giant monsters and like smaller ones that would feel at home in like Kamen Rider. But I know we have a shared love of Nightbreed, which
yes, Nightbreed.
Yeah,
love Nightbreed.
That's one I can revisit almost every Halloween just because it's like there's always someone I know that has never heard of it but is gonna love what it has going for it with all the practical effects and queer themes and stuff.
That's like one of the maybe like 3 or 4 movies that I saw like when I was really young that just kind of like foretold who I would become later in life. Like regardless if like if it's a great movie or not. But,
are the other 3 or 4 more or less queer coded than Nightbreed?
Hellraiser, the first Hellraiser,
another
Clive Barker one. The Crow is another.
Okay. It's kind of competitive. Which one's the queerest here?
Yeah. I think those are like that's like the main like triumvirate for me. Like there were other movies that like Jaws, obviously I was super into. Alien. I feel like there was specifically something about those 3 with like the kind of like weird like goth, like leather monster kind of stuff going on, which did something.
And I thought you mentioned like you managed to track down some kind of like super extended cut of that.
Right.
Like,
yeah. It was some bootleg site that I went to because like, I was just like, I got to get the Cabal cut, which is like the 3-hour cut, right? It's more like a work print than like a finished movie. And there was one listing on eBay for like $200 or $300, which is, I've spent more on stupid shit before. It's not a big deal. But I was just like I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. And then like I was just poking around and I found this bootleg site that had this like 198-minute cut for like $10 on like a DVD-R or whatever. I was like, sure, yeah, sign me up. So I will definitely report back when I get that in the mail.
Thank you. I gotta know if it's worth going through or like how much. Like, is it more monster goodness or is it more just Danny Elfman score?
Right. Is it that one choral song? That's totally Meow Mix, right?
Yeah.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow Mix, please do it. Yeah, it's the same tune. Like, do you think he realized it?
I mean, I would not be surprised if Danny Elfman just tried to claim Meow Mix as well.
Yeah, totally. Or I wonder if like he did realize, but he's like, nobody else is going to notice. I'm just going to get Meow Mix into this like serious Clive Barker film.
Yeah. It's a non-Hellraiser Clive Barker movie. No one's going to remember this.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but I really hate that score. Like, I guess it could be worse, but I feel like in a lot of the scenes in Nightbreed, it's just like, just let it breathe, man. You don't need this like cacophony of horns in like every scene. It's too much.
Yeah, like it makes all the monster scenes feel a bit like Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it has this kind of like whimsy to it, which I don't like. I'm just like, no, this is serious. The Nightbreeder's serious. Like there's no room for whimsy in here. But overall, yeah, that movie, like for all its problems, it still speaks to something like deep in my soul or whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, anything with that sheer amount of practical effects, like maybe Clive Barker's queerest movie and everything else it's got going for it. I mean, all the wet puppets and such. It's like, okay, these are all the ingredients I like in a movie. You just maybe baked it too long or put more flour than sugar than you were supposed to.
Yeah, and like there is a lot of like studio interference. So I wonder if in some like parallel universe there's like a timeline where like that didn't happen and Clive Barker got to like make the movie that he wanted to make, and it's like incredible. I don't know.
Sure. There's one lone underrated Hellraiser movie and then 9 mostly terrible night breeds.
Right. yeah, just that's flipped, right? Totally. That would be cool though. Apparently there was like I remember there was rumblings about a Nightbreed TV show that was supposed to be happening, but I haven't heard anything else about it.
Yeah, it would have been perfect for it too. Like,
yeah. Just like give the characters and all the weird lore space to breathe, and would have been would have been perfect. You could get like a Shuna Sassy episode, show her the first time she gets all her quills, show her where like where the berserkers come from, all that stuff. Would be great.
Now, I didn't want to spend too much time on it because to cue the audience into quite possibly the biggest podcasting screw up of my career, I previously had Sophie on Transcending Comics to talk about her Turtles run. And after an hour, I noticed Zoom did not actually start recording.
I think it was more than an hour.
Yeah, it was a little over an hour.
It was quite a bit.
I wanted to die.
Oh my God.
But I did at least want to touch on the Turtles before we wrap up here. So before I ask this, is it public knowledge that you're wrapping up on 150?
Yeah, it's been announced.
Okay. So with your run wrapping up here in the next few months with issue 150, what can the audience expect from the remainder of your Turtles run between now and then?
I can't reveal too much, but finally all the stuff with Armagon is finally gonna happen. And he's this giant cosmic biomechanical shark that like eats time.
Oh, he's a Langolier.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. In my scripts, I'm always like, okay, this thing has like these rotating teeth like Langoliers. I don't know if any of the artists know what I'm talking about, but yes, absolutely like Langoliers, where they just chew these like tunnels through time. So it's all it's all this Armagon stuff, which I've like hinted at in previous issues. Like he'll show up in like a dream or something. But finally getting to do it. It's a lot of time travel stuff, which I love.
Yeah, because you even contributed to like Turtles in Time and like the Bebop and Rocksteady time travel stories. So
and I did a time travel arc from 113 to 117, which I love time travel stuff and like causality loops. Like where like somebody goes back in time to like change something, but then in the process of trying to change it, they create the very thing that they're trying to change, like that kind of stuff. I love that.
Do you have a favorite time travel story?
Oh man, obviously the first 2 Terminators are great. That's like full of causality loop stuff.
Have you seen Predestination?
I've not seen that. Is that the Sarah Snook one?
I don't think so. It's Ethan Hawke and like.
No, this is the Sarah Snook one where she goes so stupid. She goes back in time and like she's like her own mom and daughter simultaneously or something.
Yeah, spoilers, but
spoiler. Yeah. It's a great causality loop movie, but the story is so stupid. Why wouldn't she recognize that's you? How could she not recognize herself? It's so stupid.
There's just no pictures of her ever.
Maybe I need to watch it again.
Yeah, no, I stand by it.
I'm sorry if you like love it or whatever, but it is a good example of a good causality movie, like a temporal paradox.
I'm just surprised that Robert Heinlein was able to write a time travel story featuring like kind of trans or intersex themes that isn't like wildly problematic.
Yeah, just a little bit problematic.
Yeah, like for Robert Heinlein, this is pretty woke.
One I really like is Time Crimes. Have you seen that?
No, but both that and Primer, my girlfriend's been trying to get me to watch.
Primer is also great. Like Time Crimes is really cool because it's like a time loop with no entry point. Because like usually, in these kind of stories or whatever, there's like a really specific, like, okay, now I'm time traveling, and like now things are fluid. But in Time Crimes, like there's no point where he begins the time travel. It's just this like continuous fluid loop that is like eternal. It's really great.
Like I'm always partial to the theory of like all moments existing at once. I really like when things play with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Where do you come down generally when it comes to time travel?
What do you mean? Like whether it's possible or not?
I guess more like if you're going to be telling a time travel story, like what sort of like rules or theory are you going to play with?
I mean, normally I like it when it's really like hard sci-fi, like not, Predestination, that's pretty hard sci-fi regardless of, what you think about the narrative beats or whatever. Primer, Time Crimes, like even the first Terminator, not Terminator 2, because they start like changing the future. But I like it when, I love that, Back to the Future is great, but I really like the kind of idea that things like can't be changed. And if you try to change them, it just like creates the situation that you were trying to change to begin with, because that already happened, like you can't go back, change something, because then you changing it prevents your future self from ever coming back to begin with, so it could never happen. And so I definitely prefer that. But when I was writing the Ninja Turtles stuff, I'm just like, I don't know if I feel like that's antithetical to like the Ninja Turtles spirit to start bringing in like all these grandfather paradox concerns or whatever. So like, I tried to kind of strike like a middle ground. Like there's some of that stuff when I write, but then the future can also be changed because it's Ninja Turtles.
You've done a really great job in redeeming some of the darkest points in Turtles history, like with making Venus an actually awesome character, and Toka and Razar coming back. Like, since you love Turtles and time, is Ninja Turtles 3 anything like you've tried to find a way to like, I don't know, make work or pull into that?
I actually like Ninja Turtles 3 gets a bad rap in my opinion. Like, yes, the turtle suits are very scary and creepy, but there's like a lot of good like character work in that. But the main problem with that is that when it comes to like pulling stuff from that, is that that's all like live action actors, and actor likenesses is like a really tricky thing. So I think like I don't know if we can use like any of those characters specifically because they were played by real people. Like the samurai lord guy, or like, the little kid Yoshi, or like the girl whose name I forget. Like, I don't think we can use those characters. But yeah, I mean, I would love to have like an entire arc where they go back to like, I guess I could always just have them go back to samurai feudal Japan and not have like the specific characters from the movie. But
I could see people being upset that it wasn't a Usagi Yojimbo crossover if you sent him back to feudal Japan.
Right. I mean, we did in the Turtles in Time mini, there was one issue where they go back to feudal Japan, but it was just one issue. It wasn't like a full story arc, which I think would be fun.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Like, you're the one that's kind of been introducing more and more dinosaurs to the crew, like their little pet pepperoni, who I absolutely love.
Anchovy.
An anchovy. And yes, I'm picking up on this love of dinosaurs and like kind of coinciding with your love of kaiju. I'm curious if whoever owns the rights to some of the like Ninja Turtle anthropomorphic cash-ins from the 80s and 90s, specifically Extreme Dinos, they came to you and like were willing to pay you to write a reboot of Extreme Dinos, would you do it?
I gotta look that up. Extreme Dinos?
Did you know Street Sharks?
Yeah.
It was a spin-off of Street Sharks that was apparently much, much worse.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen these characters. I'm looking them up here. They look pretty cool though. How have I never heard of this?
As for like the others though, like say instead it was the Street Sharks people came to you, right? All right, you write a pretty mean turtles. Can you please make this IP worth something?
I would consider it. I actually have the entire Street Sharks series on DVD, but I've never watched it. I got it from was my friend Nick who gave that to me for Christmas one year. It was like kind of a joke. But yeah, I've never watched it, but I love sharks. So, I think about it for sure. I'm not sure what I could bring to Street Sharks exactly, but
I don't think you have to bring much.
like, would they be like, they'd be like sad and talk about their feelings and stuff, like my Ninja Turtles do.
Yeah, or like you could go dark and dive into like the real world of like the relationship between humans and sharks and how awful we are to sharks.
Yeah. Yes, the Street Sharks, they could go out on the ocean and like attack like sharking vessels and stuff. That'd be cool. I think what the clincher would be is if uh, the licensors, if they let me have the Street Sharks like murder people. I think that would be like, if they were like, no, you have to keep it like kid friendly, like they can't eat anybody, they can't like bite off a guy's arm, that kind of thing. I'd be like, no, no thanks. But if they were like, yeah, they can swear, they can bite people's limbs off, I'd be like, sure, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles, but also Jaws.
Yeah, like right. It seems like something I should love. I wonder if I still have that old DVD set of Street Sharks. I should dig it out and give it a watch. I'm sure it's horrible.
You being kind of a lifelong Turtles fan that's made a big part of your career, the Turtles. I'm curious if you have like, is there another media that you would say like supersedes your Turtles fandom that you just haven't had a chance to do any creative input on?
Gamera for sure.
Gamera?
That's probably the only thing that would get me to just like quit Ninja Turtles immediately to work on. I'd be like, gotta do a Gamera book. Bye.
I don't know who has Gamera comic rights, but like
there are none. As far as I mean, there was a miniseries in the 90s from Dark Horse that was kind of like spinning out of the 90s trilogy. But as far as I know, that's the only one that's ever been in the States.
I feel like if anyone has the resume to be perfect for that job, like you've now worked on kaiju, you've worked on turtles, like you have to get that job.
It would be, yeah. There is a part of me. There's like a part of me that would like fight tooth and nail to get that job. Like I would like, like if I found out who the other writers were that were like pitching or whatever, I would like slander them. Like I would like ruin their careers just so I could get this job. But there's also a part of me that like wouldn't want the job because I wouldn't want Gamera to become work. Because like Ninja Turtles, it's like it's like a job now, and I'm at the point where it's like like I don't want to read those comics anymore or like watch those movies because it's like I'm like immersed in like Turtle Land all the time. It's like I don't even want to think about it outside of like the book that I'm working on. So yeah, so I don't know if I'd want like if I did Gamera would and like say Kadokawa, the company that owns him is like really horrible to work with. Like, would it like sour me on the whole thing? And then I have all these Gamera toys and shit all over the place. And like what if I never want to look at them again? Because like I'm like, oh, that was such a horrible experience. And then there's another part of me that hopes there is never an American Gamera comic. Like there doesn't need to be. Like, like why, like we don't need to water it down. Just let him be.
Or I mean, like Gamera thrived as a cash-in kind of knockoff of Godzilla. Maybe America just needs their own giant turtle because they couldn't get Gamera rights, and then it can become its own thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's like obviously the main reason there would be an American Gamera book is like the name recognition. That's what like most licensed things are built on, I guess. But like, yeah, like we should just make our own monster, like you said. Just do something new. Be great instead of like producing a mediocre Gamera comic that nobody's ever gonna remember like 10 years from now. I mean, maybe I could come up with something great, but I don't know. Like maybe I'm too precious with the character or something. I don't know.
And I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of franchises that have brilliant comics in them, but because like movies, TV, and everything else like takes the public consciousness eye way sooner. Like worse yet, what if you did write like the perfect Gamera story, but because no one reads comics, just goes lost?
Yeah, and I would rather Kadokawa, like whatever money they're spending on the comic, like I would rather them put toward a new movie or something. It's like, why are you paying me all this money? Like go make Rebirth season 2. Like I'll pay all the money back that you paid me if you make a season 2. Like I would be much happier with that. I don't know.
But I think I've taken about a full hour for me here, so I'll bring things to a close with a final question of the week. So, this being a Toku podcast and you having the recommendations that have really expanded my horizons on kaiju films, if there's one Toku film that like you would tell my entire audience to like go out and watch this one like immediately, which one would it be?
Oh man, I guess it's got to be Gamera 3: Revenge of Iris. That's like it's the third in the trilogy, so maybe if that's the only one you watch, you're not going to know what's going on. But
I mean, I saw the other two and I still didn't really know what was going on,
yeah,
so I don't think that's a problem.
It's very confusing, but I mean, that really is like that's the best one. It's it's incredible.
Yeah, well, thank you again, Sophie, for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to catching you again on Transcending Comics on an episode that actually gets recorded this time.
Right.
And we can talk about the rest of your Turtles run.
Yeah, and we can talk about Shin Ultraman, like whenever we get around to doing that.
Ooh, all right, I'll make that as soon as can be. But if the audience at home has any requests or recommendations for content you'd like us to cover in the future, you can send them our way on social media. You can find us on the Giant Size Violence Facebook page or on Twitter as @UltraMegaCast, or email us at giantsizeviolence@gmail.com. I'd like to thank you for giving our podcast a chance and give a special shout out to artists Ray Day Parade and Dark Moon Home Video for designing our logo and cover photos. Our intro and outro music is You're an Ace Kid by Demon Dice from their album Alcatraz. You can check out their EP, Shut Up, Get Happy, on iTunes and Spotify. You'll be joining us again as we continue to explore the movies and shows this comic draws influence from. But until then, take care and remember to do your part in preventing the spread of the kaiju virus.
Freedom can't be seen by downcast eyes. So raise your gaze until you're 10 feet tall and shake your fist to the sky. Refuse to die or let them make you small, cause they love just to see you convinced you're just a brick in the wall. But you're not just a brick in the wall. La da 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 da.
We did it!